Hi, this is George Schneider, and this is Waupaca Local Live. River of tears, take me easy this time around. It don't matter which direction you are bound. Willow River, you should know I go down hard when I go. River of tears, take me easy this time around. Well, you remember the first time that we met? Well, for me it isn't easy to forget. Oh, that girl really did me in, and it's happening again. Take me, river, to a place my heart will mend. River of tears, take me easy this time around. It don't matter which direction you are bound. Willow River, you should know I go down hard when I go. River of tears, take me easy this time around. Well, old river, you're just like a friend to me. You're the only chance I have of getting free. If I want to leave this life behind, I can't miss the boat this time. Take me, river, leave her memory behind. River of tears, take me easy this time around. It don't matter which direction you are bound. Willow River, you should know I go down hard when I go. River of tears, take me easy this time around. Maybe I should stay and face it like a man. After all that's happened, I don't think I can. So I'll just go on my own way. I can't stay another day. Take me, river, never bring me back this way. River of tears, take me easy this time around. It don't matter which direction you are bound. Willow River, you should know I go down hard when I go. River of tears, take me easy this time around. River of tears, take me easy this time around.
Welcome to the February, it's February, right?
Yes.
February Waupaca Local Live. I'm Marcy Boku, and I'm the host of the show. And we're really happy to have George Schneider Jr., a.k.a. Butch, in the studio with us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you.
That was a great song. I loved it.
Appreciate it.
All right, so what was the name of that song?
River of Tears.
River of Tears. So Butch is, I think that your family calls you Butch.
Yes.
And other people know you as George. So
yes.
Kind of like I have a stage name, Marcy Boku, my family. I'm Marcy Reynolds, right?
That's a stage name. Mine was a stooge name.
Yours was a stooge name. So when did you develop that name, Butch? Who started
Actually,
calling you that?
my dad's name is George. So when I was born, we had two Georges, and they didn't want to call me
right.
George because every time I got in trouble, my dad got yelled at.
Right.
So it became Butch immediately, and I never knew my name was George until I was in second grade.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, we're really happy to have you here. You are kind of a local person, a local legend is what I feel.
Thank you.
So I've kind of gotten to know you a little bit on social media. I think that's how I came across your music. I'm not 100% sure. Because we booked this a little while back, but I know I remember listening to some of your songs and thinking, these are really some solid songs, and this guy lives in town and I don't know him. That's really interesting. So I contacted you to be on the show, and so here you are. It's really awesome. And you do have a CD, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's called Time Does Fly. And I think this is fairly recent.
Actually, it came out middle of last year.
Okay.
And it's a compilation of the songs that I had recorded over the years that I really, as a songwriter, wasn't looking to sell CDs or anything. I was really looking to pitch the songs.
Oh, okay.
And so we used to take yearly trips down to Nashville with our songwriters group. And I've got several that were published, but nothing recorded. So finally I decided, you know, I'd kind of like to get them all down onto a CD. So this is my first CD, and should be another one out shortly.
Wow, I didn't know about that second project. I think that, you know, so when you sent me your bio, it was a really long story. I thought this would be a good made-for-TV movie. You know?
You didn't even hear the good stuff.
I didn't hear the good stuff. Well, I felt like there was some stuff behind what you said, but I guess a couple of things that came out to me. You were in the Marine Corps.
Yes.
You didn't really start playing music until you were a young adult, so it's not like you're one of the kids. We get a lot of musicians on that say, yeah, I started playing the guitar at 9, but you're not that guy.
I was actually playing drums at that age.
Okay.
And played drums with my dad's little band. And
right, you come from a family of musicians,
my dad actually taught accordion, piano, guitar when he was young just to make some money.
He did?
Yeah. So
is he from the area?
Actually, he's from Ripon originally.
Okay.
Just outside of Ripon. And we grew up in Neenah, so that's where he's from. Yeah.
So when did you end up in Waupaca?
Well, we used to come up here all the time because my uncle had a place on the chain.
Okay.
So we'd come up a couple times a year, and I'd hang out with my cousin, Deb. She was a little older than me, and we'd get in trouble and drink a little bit. And we decided back in '97 to move here and make it our home.
Okay, so you moved here as a married person.
Yes. Yep.
All right, so somehow you became like as if you were one of the local icons, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of that.
The first year we came here was '95 after my brother was killed in a car accident. He was our drummer for the band.
Oh,
and we needed some time, and we came up here. It was either after that or shortly after that, '96. We came up and rented a place just down from the Wheelhouse.
Okay.
And they had a jam going on. So I went down there, and Shelley and I got up on stage and jammed. And we got to meet some of the local guys, and we meshed pretty well. So when we moved up here, I hooked up with Danny Mueller, and he wanted to put on a weekly showcase.
Okay.
So he didn't have enough equipment. I said, well, I got the equipment. So I set up the equipment, and we had a weekly thing, and it was a lot of fun.
And where was that, at the Wheelhouse?
At the Wheelhouse, yeah.
Was that old jam, the weekly jam session?
Yes. Yep.
From way back? Okay, I think I remember that.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Lindsay cut her teeth on that.
Okay, all right. So you started, let's go back to when you were a kid. You were playing drums just like in school band or something like that? Or
Actually,
what?
I was in the Boys Brigade, played drum and did the parades, but I played in my dad's band, and I got to the point where, as a younger teenager, I liked to write songs. But when I'm trying to show my buddies how I want it to sound, you can't do it on drums.
Right.
So I was like, well, this ain't working.
So how did you write a song without, was it all just in your head?
Yes.
Did you play any instrument that you could make it come out through, or it was
just the drums?
All right, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
so,
that was a little wonky.
So you heard the chords and the melody, and did you have any kind of way that you could express that to people? Like, did you say it's in 4/4 time and it's a G?
Nope.
G, C,
That's
D?
why I learned how to play guitar.
Weird.
It was very, very hard to let somebody know, and I'm not good at a cappella. I'm not one of those people who can just stand out there and belt it out in front of people. So it was tough for me. So I said, you know what? I got to quit playing drums and start playing guitar.
Okay.
So I was 21 when I started playing guitar.
Okay. So your dad's band, what kind of band was that? Country
He was a
band?
polka band, country
A polka
band. Yeah.
So did he play accordion?
Yes.
Okay. So it's so funny that your dad played that and I think other instruments, right?
Yes.
And you didn't play, you just played the drum. I'm going to say the drums are an instrument.
Absolutely.
And they're not easy to learn to play, okay? You played the drums, but I'm still kind of stuck on the fact that you wrote songs, and I think that that's so interesting. So did you ever fiddle around with any other instruments that you could put a melody or chords to?
I actually did. When I was really young, my mom had a little plastic keyboard. Okay. So I could do that and let people know whereabouts I wanted it to go. But it just didn't work well. It was pretty hokey.
All right, so you picked up a guitar. age 21.
Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps.
Okay, all right. So did you have a chance to play where were you in the Marine Corps? Where were
I
you
was down
stationed?
in, for the most part, down in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
So I happened to have a real good friend, Cooj, and he was a bass player, but he knew how to play guitar, so he kind of taught me some things.
Okay.
And I knew a real good friend down there who was a freestyle guitarist, very good, like Jeff Beck style, and just a great player. So I learned some things from them.
Okay.
And then I just started hanging out with more guys that did play a little
music.
bit. And then when I got back home, I kind of tried to hang around with some of my old friends who I knew played and learned to play some flat picking and things like that I hadn't picked up in the Marine Corps.
Okay, so how long were you down in Virginia Beach?
About 2.5 years.
Okay. And so aside from doing your Marine Corps work, which I have no idea what that is, but it's probably
It's
a lot
top
of
secret.
top secret heavy duty work.
It was actually in communications, so I had clearances I never knew existed.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
yeah, there's a lot.
But you're kind of cooped up with a bunch of other Marines, and so you have a lot of time to dedicate to something like playing music.
Yeah, in between
Is that
all the
kind of what it was
partying,
like?
Yeah.
That sounds kind of fun. Okay.
It was
So then you came back, and all of a sudden it's like, George is now a musician. Hello. Okay, that's cool. And so did you get married in that time period, or?
Yeah, after I got back, I started playing with some of the guys that I knew, just learning things and just feeling things out, because I had played mostly rock stuff.
Yeah.
And I had a Les Paul and everything, but I had to get a decent acoustic so I could learn some flat picking and things. So during that time period, I met my wife, and
Okay.
we ended up getting together, and I was playing in another room, and I just wasn't confident playing in front of people. She's like, well, why don't you bring that thing out and play? And I said, well, I'm not that good at it. She said, yeah, you are. Come on out and play. So then I started getting comfortable playing in front of people.
Okay.
But to get out on a stage the first time, it took her kind of pushing me
Kicking
and
you
a
up
couple
there.
of shots of Jack Daniels, and then I was fine.
Then you were fine. Okay. And is your wife also a musician? Did she play
She
with
is.
you?
She actually played in our band that
Okay.
my two brothers and I, my brother Greg had his own band, and that fizzled out for reasons that we could get into, probably taking a whole session. We might need a psychologist too. But anyway,
Family band.
Yeah, that folded, so Greg and I and Jeff started playing. My brother Jeff played the drums.
Okay.
And then Shelley'd always sing along, and then she was playing tambourine, and she said, I'd like to pick up the bass. So I went, all right, that's not too bad to do. Another one of those things,
Yeah, yeah.
that's easy, anybody can do it. It's
It's
really
not.
not. It's something that's an acquired thing, and she picked it up and did it fine. She could play guitar. She played keyboard years ago, and she learned how to play the bass. So the four of us had a band until my brother was killed in '95 in a car accident.
Oh,
Drunk
no.
driver took him out, and it kind of fizzled after that. We played a few more gigs with a different drummer, but it just wasn't the same thing anymore.
Yeah, well, you had to kind of grieve because
Yeah.
you spend so much time with your bandmates. It's not like you can just hire somebody else.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry to hear that. What was the name of your band?
Young Country. We couldn't
Young
call it that anymore.
You couldn't call it Young Country anymore? Well,
No,
you have to call
we're
it
too
Old
old for
Country.
that.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to I want to ask you what song you're going to play next.
Well, the reason I start out with River of Tears, that's the oldest one, the one that's been around the longest. I actually
Okay.
started writing it before I met Shelley, and it's morphed over the years into what it is right now. But the next one is called The Glamorous Life.
Okay.
And it was written based on a friend of ours, Shelley and I, that played out, and actually we played together for a little while, and he ended up getting killed in a car accident one night coming home from a gig in the fog. So it's called The Glamorous Life of a Music Man.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's heavy duty. All right, everybody, George Schneider Jr., a.k.a. Butch, on Waupaca Local Live.
Living out of a suitcase in the back of my van. The glamorous life of a music man. Playing my music anywhere I can. It ain't much, but it's a living. I've got a dream I've got to follow. Living for today and hoping for tomorrow. I'm paying my dues according to the plan. Glamorous life of a music man. Beating down that blacktop, mapping out my next stop. Another night, another one night stand. Shopping my songs around, sleeping in a strange town. The glamorous life of a music man. I've got a dream I've got to follow. Living for today and hoping for tomorrow. I'm paying my dues according to the plan. The glamorous life of a music man. Dollars hard to find when you're on the climb, but you'll have more than enough when you get where you're going. All those in between, when times they were so lean, that's all a part of the life of a music man. Chasing a rainbow, searching for the pot of gold that they say is waiting at the end. Living for the moment, eating when I can. The glamorous life of a music man. I've got a dream I've got to follow. Living for today and hoping for tomorrow. I'm paying my dues according to the plan. The glamorous life of a music man. And all those in betweens, when times they were so lean, that's all a part of the life of a music man. Glamorous life of a music man. Glamorous life of a music man.
Oh, that was a good song. It was
Thank
a nice
I
start.
played that out, it was locally, I think out on the deck at Clearwater Harbor, and a gal came up and said, "Was that about Mike Voigt?" And I was like, knocked out that somebody actually knew who the song was about.
Wow.
I don't mention his name or anything. I said, "How did you get that?" She said, "Mike lived out of the suitcase in the back of his van." I said, "Yeah, with his dog." I said, "I couldn't get the dog in there."
No, that was a great song. Good
Thank you.
tribute, too. So you wrote that after he died?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, again, sorry to hear that. So I guess I want to find out a couple things. First of all, so you weren't able to communicate your songs that you were writing in your head until you were able to pick up a guitar. So then you learned to play the guitar. You formed a band.
I actually didn't. I just played a lot and practiced and
Okay.
did a lot of things and played with people. And
then the band formed itself, kind of?
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Like I say, my brother's band kind of fizzled out. And so I started playing with him a little bit.
Okay.
And he was very country and I was very rock. So it was kind of,
Okay.
it was tough to mesh, but I tried to explain to him, I don't want to step on your vocals. I just want to play in between. And I learned how to mesh with what he was doing. And then my other brother on drums, we just kind of all started to fit together.
So at what point did you start to say, hey, I wrote this song? Was that right away, or were you mostly doing covers? When did you have the confidence to bring forth a song that you wrote?
One night out at a bar, Shelley goaded me into it and bought me enough shots to make me get up and do it.
Okay, liquid courage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, I joined up with the Songwriters of Wisconsin.
Okay.
And that gave me a venue for getting feedback on my songs and learning where I need to tighten them up and what wasn't strong, and maybe there wasn't a clear message in the song. The critique sessions were just invaluable.
So tell us about that organization. That's a statewide organization that
Yes, it actually
supports...
disbanded a few years ago.
It did.
Yeah, we were all getting a little older and people didn't want to participate as much anymore, and everybody's doing things online. And now somebody just recently revived it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I was part of that for quite a number of years, and we used to take yearly treks down to Nashville.
Right.
And pitch our songs and make appointments with recording labels and things. So
that's an amazing organization. So you said somebody's reviving that now?
Yeah, there's some people that were part of it years ago, apparently, that decided they wanted to gear it up again. So kind of nice to see.
So you had taken some trips with them down to Nashville. You pitched your songs. Like, tell us about that process. What does the pitching mean? Were you in showcases, or did you make
showcases?
Okay.
But that's really not a good place to pitch. That's just a lot of different songwriters coming from all over. It's kind of the mecca for songwriters, right?
Okay.
I mean, they just all go there, and they're going to be the next star, and they're going to get their songs, and everybody's going to grab my stuff because it's so good. But I knew better, but I wanted to go down and get the experience, and it was quite an experience. I met a lot of really cool people I would have never met. We would go play at night at the showcases, and during the day we would make appointments. We'd make 4 or 5 appointments and go sit with publishers and try to get our songs published. And I had gotten something published every year I went down there.
Wow.
But it came to a point where getting it published doesn't mean much if they don't move it, if they can't get it placed.
Okay,
so,
meaning they had to find somebody who was willing to record it.
Exactly.
And you had mentioned, I think, before that you were writing songs trying to get other people to record them. You weren't really writing them for yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
I love writing. I love the process, and some songs just come to me and I just put them down. And actually going out and singing them doesn't mean as much to me just because I just like writing. But I can play okay, so I'll go out and play sometimes. But it's still kind of about trying to get the songs placed, and hopefully somebody will want to record one. Okay.
And so you took it upon yourself to record your own songs, just to get them kind of out there. And, if anyone has a chance to get your CD, which we'll talk about in a minute where you can get it, but when you listen to his songs with a full arrangement, meaning there's a band and there's harmonies and different parts, it's kind of amazing. We're hearing the stripped down version of it, like as it's in your head and you got one guitar. And so I'm really encouraging people you can go to George's Facebook page. You can go to the Waupaca Local Live Facebook page, and I did put your YouTube channel up there.
Oh, cool.
And so there's a YouTube for many of the songs that are on that CD, and that's really cool to listen to these songs. They're beautiful and really nice production. So where did you record?
Appleton. Of all places, I've been to Nashville, and they're expensive. I go to Branson. Shelley and I will go down to Branson once or twice a year, and I've gotten to form a relationship with a guy down there, and he makes really good productions. But the guy in Appleton actually makes a very good, full-blown production.
Okay.
And I was kind of blown away. I've known him for a lot of years, but I had no idea he had that ability and able to put that kind of music to it. So once a friend of mine, president of our songwriters group, Tony Ansems, had sent me a version of his song that was recorded. I said, wow, where'd you get that done? And he said, Mike Cove. I said, really? I got to call Mike. So I got a hold of him, and he said, yeah, come on in. So I had recorded a lot of things on tape, and nobody takes cassette tapes anymore. That's just old stuff. So I had to take those to Mike and say, hey, can we get this into the digital format? And he said, yeah, we can do that. So they pulled the vocals off, pull some of the guitar off, but then he builds the song around that with guitars and drums, you know, more professional sounding. And I've still got quite a few more that we're working on. He's got 6 together right now, plus I've got 6 or 7 together recorded at other places. So we've got that together as a CD right now. And what we're doing, and I want to bounce it off Shelley and my wife and see, does it sound good together, being recorded at one place plus meshing them all from another place.
There's like a process, like the mastering process, that gets them all to that same tone level and depth level.
Yep.
And it may or may not be the thing that you want. But so did you bring musicians in, or did they bring musicians in for you?
He has a program that he can have musicians play with or something. But he does some of that stuff with programs. He does play himself. The drums are off a drum kit that they can pick.
Okay.
And man, it sounds professional.
I didn't think that's. I thought those were all musicians in there.
It really
so it
does
really
sound
did sound
like
good.
Some of it, I played a couple of leads in there, and he played some lead stuff. But some of it is just professionally done stuff that he downloads from somebody.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I don't pretend to know the process.
Yeah.
I just love the outcome. It really turned out nice.
It is interesting because there's the songs that you write, and that's, you know, a huge, huge skill, but there's so much more to it. If you want to record or get your music out there, there's all these other professions that have to weigh in, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so all together it creates this thing. And then there's the performing. So that was another question that I had about, you know, I don't know if you're out playing gigs or not. It doesn't seem like.
I don't do it much anymore.
Yeah.
I used to travel to Green Bay and De Pere, and we used to play all over the place. Shelley would play with me too and sing backup.
Okay.
But it got old because a lot of it's late night gigs.
Right.
And on 2 occasions I was driving home on Highway 41, both occasions, and there were somebody probably drunk coming at me in my lane. So after those 2 occasions, I was like, you know what, this is not worth it. It's not. It's fun to do, but the driving home when the weather's bad and all the other things, it's just not fun.
Well, and you have that history of your brother.
Exactly.
That's something that you probably just are like, it's not worth it.
That actually put a big damper on things back when I was really playing out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just decided it's just not worth it.
Okay.
For me, this gig we're going to do across the street is perfect. 7:30 till 9.
Yeah.
I mean, that's perfect. I can get home in my old man clothes before late.
Okay. So what's your next song that you're going to do for us?
Next one is She Dances Alone, and it was part of the writing process. Some things just come to you. And there was a gal that we used to see when we'd go to the casino back when we first moved up here. She would be out on the dance floor dancing all by herself. And that's where She Dances Alone came from, and there's a story behind it. The story's not exactly how I wrote it, but it makes you think before you judge people about why that person's doing what they're doing. So that's a little bit about what the song's about.
Great message. All right, everybody. George Schneider is going to do another song for us.
This one's called She Dances Alone. It was early and the band was trying to get him out on the floor. Seemed like no one had enough liquid courage, they needed 1 or 2 more. When a woman came from out of nowhere, dancing like she had a partner out there, but she was alone. She dances alone, song after song. She don't care who's watching her, she just goes on, dancing alone. We were laughing and joking about the way she was carrying on, when the guy behind the bar let us know why she was there on her own. Seems her soldier had marched off to war, and he won't be coming back anymore. Her love goes on. She dances alone, song after song. She don't care who's watching her. She just goes on, dancing alone. She just closes her eyes and lets the music take her away. With her arms around the man she loved till her dying day. She dances alone, song after song. She don't care who's watching her. She just goes on, dancing alone, song after song. She don't care who's watching her. She just goes on and on and on, dancing alone, dancing alone, dancing alone. Thank you. Wow.
Well, that was kind of a tearjerker. You were right. It's got a message to it. Thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that was
You know,
great.
most of them have something behind them.
Okay.
Sometimes they just kind of come to you, but other times they're driven by something like that.
So when you write a song, you've said a couple times that they kind of come to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what part of the song comes to you? Is it the music, the melody, the chords, the topic, the words, all of the above?
Typically for me, and it's different for everybody, I think. Sometimes it starts, I've got one that I was just in a conversation while I was at work with a guy in the control room. It was just him and I, and he was talking about his brother going through divorce with his wife and everything. And some of the things that he said kind of stuck in my head. And as I was walking out the door, he said, you know, actions speak louder than words. I was walking out the door going, well, if I can't write a song about that, I'm not a songwriter.
Yeah,
so it turned into a song. And
that actually has a rhythm to it, too, so I can see where you'd say that, yeah.
But in that case, I was like, oh, that's cool. So it started simmering in my head, and within, I don't know, 20 minutes to a half hour, it started coming out. But I feel the words coming with a rhythm to them.
Okay.
So the music and the words quite often come
kind of like
together.
the melody or especially with a phrase like that. I
think anytime I'm writing, I have to keep in mind what the sound, what does it sound like? What do I want to hear out of it? Because it's the only way you can keep a meter going. Mm-hmm. I have a friend that wants me to put some music to something he wrote, and it could make a good song, but it has no meter.
Right.
Each line is a little longer or shorter.
Yeah.
You can't even force them in. So as he's writing it, it's more like a poem than it is a song. And I've been trying to work on it. I just can't get a meter to it because you have to marry those two together.
That's really an interesting point, because I think that there's this thought out there that lyrics of a song are poems, and I guess I feel like I kind of disagree with that. You may have written lyrics that maybe would turn into a poem, but it's like you're trying to put a square peg in a round box.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because even just the syllables of a word, if they don't hit right, it's hard to make it fit the cadence of the melody.
Yeah.
And so you can get stuck on a line in a song for like a year. And it just isn't, it's like, come on, there's got to be a way to make these words fit, but they just don't.
Yeah.
And I think so that's another aspect of songwriting that's really hard is the words. Some people, that's their strong point, and they focus less on the melody or, you know, it's really weird because all those things have to align, right?
You know, and the hard part for some people is, like for me when I was a drummer, how do I, if I can hear that song in my head and how those words should go to the music, how do I get that across to somebody if I don't play an instrument? And I had a friend that I wrote with. She's actually a pretty established writer now, but we wrote a song together, and she has no meter. She doesn't play anything, not a keyboard, not nothing. So as we were writing, we got the basics of the song down, but we had to tighten things up. We had lines that the song was complete. We could have put it out, but it needed to be tightened up. The lines were a little weak and just needed to be adjusted. So I would message her that, this is what I think she would, and she'd message something back, and there's so many words in the line it wouldn't fit, and I'm trying to tell her that they don't fit. I can't sing them fast enough to make them fit into that meter. And I actually had to get together with her, our songwriter's meter, and show her, this is what it would sound like. And then she went, oh, yeah, that's not going to fit. But that's the problem with people who like to write but can't play. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes that's a little tough to get across where you're trying to go with it.
Well, and because writing is its own art form, and so I think sometimes people that are like that, they're like, you're editing my art form. But it's kind of, there's probably a lot of conflict there.
Interesting. one of the coolest things I ever heard was it's your baby. And nobody wants to hear the baby ugly.
Yeah.
So when you're saying this needs to be tweaked, people take it personally.
They do take it personally,
My baby's not ugly.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
Right. No, I think that's true. So we'll leave it at that, because I feel like this conversation would be fun to have for like 4 more hours, because I'm a songwriter too, and it's like I love talking about songwriting. With every musician has something new to bring to the table with that topic, so it's really cool. So you have this CD, Time Does Fly, and don't we know it? Time Does Fly. What is the next CD going to be called, or don't you have a name yet?
I don't know.
Okay.
There's 12 songs like on this one.
Yeah.
And what we did last time is I had 3 of them that really I thought were strong. I wanted to use one of the songs as the name. So I ran it past Shelley, and the recording engineer had suggested one of the other songs. And I said, it's not strong enough. I said, I kind of like Time Does Fly. And Shelley said, I like that one. So we ended up doing that, and she found the cool artwork on there.
Yeah, it is cool.
And you had to purchase the artwork, and it turns out the recording engineer, who he puts things like that together, he already had a subscription for them, so we were able to get the artwork, and he helped me put it all together, and Shelley kind of helped find it all, so it was kind of a group project. So
when you did this album, did you record more than these 12, and then you picked ones to put on it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had taken probably 15 of them in, and one of them, the recording wasn't too good, and some of the other ones, we just couldn't get to where we wanted with them.
Yeah.
And he had really nice music to him, but I need certain leads in there. I need gaps filled with certain sounds. So all of these went through that whole process.
Okay.
And 4 of those songs, or 3 of those songs, I should say, he has right now that we had worked on, and they could have gone on here, but they just weren't quite ready yet. So now they are ready, plus there's 3 more that he's got pretty close.
Okay.
But we'll sit down in the mastering process, and that's where I'll tell him, look, I need to put a lead in here. I need to bring this up in between. And we did that before Christmas, got together in probably November, and I put some lead work into some of that. So we'll continue to do that, and either we'll mesh all those songs like I was talking about, or we'll continue to record some of the ones that I'd had done already on tape, and it'll come out probably early summer, I'm guessing.
Do you think you'll do any kind of a CD release party where you play some of them live?
Nah, they don't make enough coffee for that. I thought about that because other people do that, and somebody suggested it, and I said, I don't know that I really want to do that, because I don't know how would you invite people, and I mean, I don't go out hardly anymore, except to see friends play or something like that. So a CD release party was cool back in the day, but now I don't know. Maybe it makes sense, but I just thought, I'm just going to put it out.
You just really want to get it out there. So how many songs, I don't know, maybe you don't know. I wouldn't know if someone asked me, but how many songs have you written, do you think, in your life?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
Okay.
I pulled open my drawer the other day to I got a file drawer. I got 2 of them actually. And I was like, man, I forgot about a few of these. And there's got to be 100 songs, I suppose. But they're not all ready to record either. Some of them, when I look at them, they need to be.
But they're your
set.
songs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're somewhere in the process, right?
Yes. Yep.
And do you feel like there's a percentage of them that you write and you're like, God, that sucked. Oh, I hate that song. I hope nobody ever hears it. And if I die, I hope my kids don't find it.
I've never had a baby that ugly yet.
Oh.
Actually, there's some of them that I get done and I'm like, the structure's okay. It sounds like stuff I don't want, and I'll throw it in the drawer.
Do you ever get the feeling that when you're writing a song, this is part of my process. I don't actually try to write music, but if I get something that comes through me, and then I'm like, okay, I got to do that. And so then it'll be like, okay, that's a cool song, but then my next step is, all right, did I hear this somewhere?
Yes.
And then I'll have to have my trusted little circle. I'll play it for them. I'm like, okay, where is that from?
Exactly.
And then if they're like, I don't know, I never heard it before, then I'm like, okay, then it's a real song.
Well, John Lennon was taken to court for, and he lost.
No, it was George Harrison, I think.
George Harrison.
Yeah, for
he had copyright infringement, but he said after he heard the song, he said, I didn't deliberately do that. He said, but after hearing it, I had to have had that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, it was My Sweet Lord. And honestly, that kind of bugs me because everybody goes through that, and then someone's going to say, yeah, that sounds like such and such. Sadly, with those rock and roll chord progressions,
country's the same.
Yeah,
there's
there's these chord progressions that everybody uses.
Absolutely.
But he not only used the chord progression, but also the melody, the cadence, every bit of it.
Yeah.
You could play them together. But yeah, that's the big fear is did I hear this somewhere? And
my brother Greg used to do a medley of 60s songs. Louie Louie. God, there had to have been a dozen songs, and they all have the same meter. He can just go from one to the other to the next.
Well,
and end up at the beginning.
An interesting thing to do is just Google Heart and Soul. So last summer, one of our shows we did was called the Heart and Soul Club. So I'm from the Arts Hub, and I have a lot of students, and we had all of our piano students learn that Heart and Soul song on the piano. Dun, 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 dun. So the whole bunch of kids learned it, and then we came on the radio, and they all played it. So the interesting thing is I wanted to teach kids about chords and chord progressions. And when you Google Heart and Soul, there's hundreds of songs from the 60s through current times that use that chord progression. Yeah. Taylor Swift uses it a lot. So it's just sort of like this thing that is in our DNA. And the interesting thing to me is how many different melodies or ways that you can use that chord progression that doesn't necessarily sound like Heart and Soul. But anyway, I think we're all kind of paranoid about, am I writing is this my song or is this someone else's
song? But you're right. You get done and you go. For me, the one I'm going to finish up was Born to Ride. It's the last one that I finished. I recorded. And when I got done with it, I'm like, God, that sounds like something I've heard before. But then it's been rolling through my head as I'm writing, and it's in my subconscious, and that's how I tweak songs. I'll be riding down the highway and go, oh, there's a good line for there, or that's what the word should be. So it's constantly playing in your mind. So when you're done, you go, God, is that something I heard somewhere before?
Yeah.
Just now
I did all that work for that. That's how I always feel. And chances are it's not, but it's, there's only so many notes.
Exactly.
There's only,
And on the guitar,
so the challenge is to be creative and come up with something a little that's your own. Yeah. So what's our last song going to be?
That's
really
going to be the one that I just recorded, Born to Ride.
Born to Ride.
The cool
and
thing
you
about this one is,
are you a motorcycle guy too?
Yes.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine has a brother that lives in Mississippi. He came up to visit, and I said, hey, when you get to Doc's, he said, Doc's. I went, you haven't been to Doc's? He's a Harley guy. I'm like, come on, let's go. We went to Doc's. And on the way home, there's a road with a road sign that says Dead End Road. It's not the big triangle sign. The road is called Dead End Road. And he said, look at that. And he took a picture. And then we get back almost to town. Hey, look, this town's called Little Hope. He said, Georgia's got to be a song in there somewhere.
Dead end,
So I
between
said,
Dead End
yeah, I'll
Road
work on a Dead End
All right, I
Road.
can't wait to hear how you're going to put that all together. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're going to have one last song from George, and we appreciate you listening. Share our YouTube, it will be a YouTube a week from tomorrow, so you can listen to the edited version, or you can share the live stream from tonight. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right, George Schneider.
I got to thank Chris and Jeff Maglier for helping me come up with this one. I was raised on Dead End Road in the town of Little Hope. I was still just a kid the day I hit the road. I set a course for anywhere, didn't even say goodbye. They say you can't go back again, well, I don't intend to try. Now I ride, I was born to ride. I need 2 wheels and a 2-lane, so don't hold on too tight. Well, I may be back tomorrow, or I may ride out of sight. Now I ride, I was born to ride. I've been in love a time or two, but it just don't seem to last. Let the wind blow it all away, I don't live in the past. My soul is never satisfied if I settle down too long. And my heart tells when it's time to go, and it keeps me moving on. Now I ride, I was born to ride. I need 2 wheels and a 2-lane, so don't hold on too tight. Well, I may be back tomorrow, or I may ride out of sight. Now I ride, I was born to ride. Anytime I find myself riding down a dead-end road, I turn around, I won't be bound for a world of little hope. Now I ride, I was born to ride. I need 2 wheels and a 2-lane, so don't hold on too tight. Well, I may be back tomorrow, or I may ride out of sight.